Yeah, good morning there, folks. Like I say, my talk's probably more about the evolution of a COTS control program at a tourism site. Probably been ongoing for about 20 years. Now, as we all know, crown-of-thorns starfish in large numbers, reduce live coral cover, particularly at small scales like tourism sites, and so therefore control measures are necessary. Now, Reef Magic Cruises has had a tourism site at the northwest corner of Moore Reef since about the mid-90s. Pardon me. It was, and probably towards the end of, or about the turn of the century, like a lot of reefs in the Cairns region, they were experiencing like a crown-of-thorns starfish outbreak. Now, control measures at this time were originally basically collection methods by hook. And even owner-operators were paying dive instructors up to like $1 a cot to remove crown-of-thorns starfish. And now these methods progressively shifted into multi-shot injection methods. And it's about the middle of that decade we saw cot numbers, pretty well decrease to like non-outbreak, very low densities. But around about 2009, I started noticing a lot more cots being a bit more prevalent at our site at Marine World then. And in 2010, the Australian Marine Park Tourism Operators Crown-of-thorns Starfish Control Program was kind of reborn as a trainee program. And a lot of those trainees were spread out on vessels all through the Cairns region, and we utilised those trainees on our vessel between 2010 to 2012 to control crown-of-thorns starfish at our site using the multi-shot injection method. Now, in that period, these trainees, they removed 2,710 crown-of-thorns starfish in those 3 years. These are bar plots of monthly injection numbers for those 3 years. The blue part of the bar represents adults, the yellow part is a proportion of juveniles. To give you a reflection of effort, that's that bold number in brackets underneath the bars, so it's basically the number of dives. So what we can kind of see from this is effort was kind of a little bit inconsistent, sporadic, and was even reducing over those 3 years. But if you have a look, the number of crown-of-thorns starfish being injected was actually increasing. And the real interesting part was actually the number of juveniles in that percentage of catch that was increasing as well. Now, where we were mainly finding these crown-of-thorns starfish, they're kind of directly to the east and directly to the west of our Marine World platform site. But we did look at these other areas too. To visualise this a little bit more, yeah, we can see on this nice graph here, nice photo here, so the east section, the west section were the largest producers. But we did look at those other perimeters too. We did look around the outer wall across the passage behind those other bommies. But the east and west were the main producers. About 2013, we decided to shift our focus and just put all our efforts into targeting juvenile crown-of-thorns starfish. So we hired a consultant at the end of that year to help us design a program. He placed a little bit of a research focus on it. We thought we might be able to get a little bit of information about recruitment rates, predation rates, growth rates, possibly even a little bit on ontogenetic shift in diet. They change their diet preferences as they increase in size. What we class as juvenile crown-of-thorns starfish is somewhere between 5 millimetres and 150. Now, how you find juvenile crown-of-thorns starfish? Pretty well the same way you find adults. You look for the coral, you go for the scar, then you find the animal. A lot of the cots we find are under 70 millimetres, so basically they're a little bit harder to find in adults. So the simple methodology we used is we just used belt transects. This is a belt transect done in the east area. You can see coral cover is quite high. They just help define your focus and your search. This program started about 2014, ran through to about the end of last year, and in that time we removed 9,835 juvenile crown-of-thorns starfish. So a pretty impressive number. And like I say, east and west were the main producers looking at that map we saw before. To give you a look at the monthly collection figures for those 4 years, you can see it's pretty consistent. you know, and if you're going for like a reflection of effort, that bold number underneath is not the number of dives, it's actually the number of transects. So what's this kind of telling us is we got like pretty well looks like a constant recruitment or settlement in juvenile crown-of-thorns starfish in this one small density of reef. Is there any pattern in there? A little bit hard to see, to be honest with you. I mean, effort's fairly consistent. You know, if you got months where you got transects over like 100 transects a month, you can get like 500-600 COTS a month. Generally, effort's probably around about 65 to 70 transects a month. Towards the end of 2017, the program did subside quite a little bit. I think when I do look at this, it looks like possibly late summer months. There might be a high recruitment phase, and all of that, there seems like a bit of a slight pattern to in like late winter, early spring. So whether we're getting two different recruitment phases coming through, not too sure. Or as kind of Morgan was saying before, as COTS grow a little bit bigger, they're easier to find as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any size structure information on this time frame available to me at this moment in time. But I do have size structure information on the Crown-of-thorns starfish we've collected this year. So this nice box plot here, you got on the y-axis there, you got your range of COTS sizes by the box. We've collected COTS from about the end of January to end of June. So the black line represents the median size, and we can actually see like it looks like the COTS are increasing in the size, you know, in the last few months. So that's kind of posed some interesting questions on, you know, what's the age of COTS, how quickly do they grow, and things like that. What type of corals do we find juvenile crown-of-thorns starfish on? Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. To give you a bit more of a size structure information of that the crown-of-thorns collected this year. I broke up that sample size into the three main areas we target, Rubble, East and West. Overall, the mean size is 74 millimetres, but we do find crown-of-thorns we gather in the rubble patches are a lot smaller than what we get in our east section, and a little bit larger in our west, but you're talking like 15, 20 millimetres really in difference. Getting back to what I was getting before, what type of corals do we find these little guys on? Another box plot there shows like the range of COTS sizes again on the y-axis, a variety of coral types on the bottom axis. You see they come off quite a variety of corals, but if you have a closer look, half of those coral types are acroporas, and as we all know, acropora is a very wide, very diverse genus. So we broke them up into non-taxonomic groups. So like our echinata corals, that's like your bottle brush corals. They're classified by those, compound branches, thin diameter. Then if you go up to your Saligo and Heritas, they're more those really compact arborescent forms. They've got the thin diameter branches. And then if you go to your Formosas or Miracatas and Robustas, you're getting up to that, like a more sprawling staghorn type coral with the wider diameter. So if you look at the black line in the box plots there, it does look like there's a bit of a graduation and shift as COTS get larger, going from those more like compound bottle brush corals up to those more staghorn type corals. Very small sample size. One thing to take into account is the bold number in brackets after each coral type is the number of COTS found. So pretty well half of the COTS found this year all come off bottle brush corals. Kind of start wrap up this, like I say, this program's quite evolved a lot in the last couple of decades, going from that really haphazard, dollar a cot up to these more fine scale surveys, and even start to shed a little bit of light on where we kind of find juvenile crown-of-thorns starfish or their biology. There's quite a few benefits to this program. I mean, in terms of like reef resilience and protecting live coral cover. If you take since 2010, we've removed 13,500 crown-of-thorns starfish, of which about 12,000 are juveniles. But the program's had far more wide-ranging benefits in terms of like interpretation. So on board our vessels on the way home this year, we've started using our biologists doing informative interactive talks on crown-of-thorns starfish, and we showcase little live juvenile crown-of-thorns as well. One thing we tend to know is this is probably the most studied starfish in the world, right? And they're quite, there's a lot of public awareness about them. But what we are starting to find is the public really don't know a lot about crown-of-thorns starfish. And these little talks on board the vessel have been quite an additional plus, to be honest. You got some research benefits there. Finally, I'd just like to end off on monitoring. I mean, hopefully we'll see crown-of-thorns starfish numbers start to wane in a few years, maybe not. Given our methodology and given our site's history or prevalence in getting high settlement rates in crown-of-thorns starfish, I'd like to see this program incorporated into the early warning system as well. I think it'd make a nice addition to help predicting future outbreaks at crown-of-thorns in the Cairns region. And before I wrap up, I'd just like to say a special thanks, a lot of them are here today, to the Australian Marine Park tourism operators. Reef Magic and AMTO have had an ongoing collaboration, a working relationship for nearly 2 decades now, and we're both really proud of that. Thank you.